Okay, we're live. Hi guys, Jackie M here. Doing my usual live daily broadcast on Asian cooking. So welcome. And if you've got any questions during the broadcast and you're watching from Facebook while I'm cooking, I should be able to answer them, assuming I'm not too distracted. Just give me a second while I grab another box of gloves. And for those of you who don't know me, like I said, my name is Jackie M. You can find me at jackiem.com.au, and I'm a former Malaysian restaurateur based here in Sydney, Australia, and raised in Malaysia. I've got a Down syndrome toddler over here. His name is Noah, so he may insert himself into the proceedings at some point, so bear with us. Now, today I'm going to be doing a very popular dish. It's shredded crispy. Well, usually we use beef, right? Peking beef, but I'm going to use chicken today, and I'll explain why. But before I go on any further, I just want to acknowledge Lenovo Australia for supplying me with the laptops I use for my live broadcast, and also Rode Microphones, which is also an Australian company, for the microphones I use in my broadcast. So do check them out. And also, those of you who are not familiar with my broadcast and they see my video on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever, I just need to give you a heads up. This is a live cooking demonstration. If a dish takes half an hour to cook, I'm not going to stand here and wait and stare and space off for half an hour, okay? I'm going to be talking and hopefully engaging with my audience, and also hopefully giving you information about what I'm doing that will hopefully help you towards your Asian cooking adventure. So don't complain that you're sick and tired of hearing my voice or whatever. Just go away and come back at the end and see the end results. Anyway, okay, shredded Peking beef. This is one of my favorite restaurant dishes, and there are a lot of wrong recipes online, which is why I'm inclined to do this. So I'm just going to cover some of the fundamentals of this dish. You're going to need, first of all, a fair bit of oil, and I've got some oil over here, and you're going to be deep frying it. And then the second step is you're going to make up the sauce, and you're going to toss the crispy meat pieces in the sauce and mixing it up and all that, right? Okay. And okay, now part of the reason why I'm using chicken today is because, well, first of all, it's cheap, but I'm using some chicken breast. Okay, so this is chicken breast, and I'm going to thank you, Christy. Now, first of all, the main reason I'm using chicken breast, apart from the price, right, because beef is so expensive in Australia, is because I find that if you try to get your ingredients at your regular Australian supermarket, it's almost as if it's pegged against you being able to correctly replicate your these dishes correctly. And the reason for that is usually if you buy meat at your local supermarket, they usually cut against the grain, like steaks and all that sort of stuff, right? And for this particular dish, you actually want the meat to be cut with the grain, okay? So with this piece of chicken breast, you're going to be able to achieve that, because if you're cutting it with the grain, just kind of like, you can just kind of figure out that you're going to cut it along here, and you want to cut it really, really thin. If you want to cheat, by all means, buy those, you know, so you can find those, what they call Asian stir-fried beef pieces, but those are cut with against the grain. So they're going to, like, first of all, they're not cut quite fine enough for this exercise. I'm going to start cooking because I know people think I talk too much. So I'm going to cut this, right, really, really thin, and then I'm going to cut it some more, and I'm going to point out some of the fundamental mistakes that people make, especially fundamental mistakes that people make with this dish, right? Because, like I said, I always contend that some of the nicest looking blogs and videos online really actually perpetrate incorrect information when it comes to Asian cooking, because I've got a feeling it's a case of the blind leading the blind sort of thing, you know. And unfortunately, some of the, you know, well, I guess they're very good at SEO, keyword ranking in Google, because invariably these recipes get pulled up that are wrong, okay? So people kind of like are always trying to figure it out. So I'm cutting this with the grain. So I'm getting, if you can see this, I'll come around. So I've got, you can see this is a slice of chicken breast, right? And with that, I'm going to cut it even thinner, right? I'm going to cut it across all along here, right? And now, the reason why I'm deep frying this is that you just simply have to be able to achieve the kind of crispiness for this dish. I see a lot, you know, especially recipes written by Westerners, right? Westerners have an aversion to deep frying. And I think it's because, first of all, they think you need a deep fryer or a proper Chinese kitchen, you know, Chinese restaurant wok set up to be able to do deep frying properly, and that's not true. And I'm going to show you. If you've seen enough of my videos, you know that you know that I do a lot of deep frying in kind of like this kind of setup anyway. Secondly, I think there's the health aspect of it. I think people think the less oil you use in this dish, or any dish for that matter, the healthier it will be, and that's not necessarily the case, because you know, if you know how to deep fry properly, you should be able to get this quite dry at the end, and that's what you want to achieve. Okay. Another mistake that people make is that they get this, they fry it, right? When you saute it, which is what most Western recipes suggest doing, adding a couple of tablespoons of oil or maybe a little bit more oil, but essentially is just glorified sauteing. That's going to ruin it, especially if you're following this recipe that I'm going to use for this, right? And another thing I want to point out, that's not necessarily the case with all recipes, but the ones that we Asians do, right, is that we use, before we deep fry these pieces of chicken or beef, we actually drench them in not just, we use tapioca starch, right? I use tapioca starch. We don't just drench them in flour, or tapioca flour in my case, but we first run them through egg wash. Now hush, please. We basically crack an egg and toss them in the egg, and then take it out, right? And then we're going to toss it in some flour. So I've got the chicken over here, right? So I'm going to crack an egg in here, mix it around, okay? So that's the egg wash. Mix it around, and then you want to take it out because you don't want it all soggy, right? You want to take it out, and then you want to toss it into a tray with what like I said, I use tapioca starch. You know, you can use corn flour. You can even use wheat flour. I tend to find that tapioca flour works best. It helps to absorb a lot of the moisture. You're going to need a fair bit of flour. I'm going to start heating this up. It has actually, in fact, been heating up for a little bit. So tapioca starch, you can't see the packaging here. You can find it very, very easily at Asian grocery stores. It's really kind of one of those ingredients you want to have in your kitchen if you're doing Asian cooking, right? But like I said, you know, you can replace it with cornstarch, corn flour, but I generally find that tapioca flour does a better job of it, okay? So fair bit of flour. And now you want to mix it through, okay? And you can put a little bit of salt in this as well, which I'm going to do that. Okay, so you got that. Mix it in. You want it very, very well coated. If you've eaten this at an Asian restaurant, you're going to find that these are really kind of like, you know, they're so well coated with flour and egg that you can barely taste the meat in it. That's how thinly sliced you want the meat, okay? Any thicker slices, you're not going to be able to crisp it up enough to be able to achieve the result you want, okay? So you can see this here, okay? You're going to be very careful and just kind of like toss them in small batches into the oil. I might not use all of this because there's quite a fair bit here. I actually started cutting some up earlier because Noah was, I was getting really, really hungry. So I thought I might get started off air a little bit. Okay. So the oil is probably hot enough by now because I actually had been heating it up previously, and I'll explain why in a bit, okay? Okay, it's not quite hot enough, but let's see how we go. Let's just crank this up a bit. There's a lot of talk about how you decide when the oil is hot enough. You know, usually you throw a little bit of meat in there, you see it kind of like bubble and float up. That's when you know the oil is ready. If you were using a deep fryer, and I know people have wondered whether you can use deep fryers. Yeah, absolutely you can. For this particular dish, you can, okay? So that will sort it out for you. And you want to deep fry at about 180, 200 degrees. Just let me clear this out. I'm going to grab a knife and I'm going to get the veggies ready for this dish. Okay, I just tapioca for something. Yeah, cool, great. That's what you want. Tapioca. Yeah, Kirsty is saying she uses tapioca flour, tapioca starch for salt and pepper squid. That's really kind of like the go-to ingredient we use for a lot of deep fried dishes in Asian cooking. So yeah, it costs like $1, $1.20, certainly in Australia anyway, at your local Asian grocery store, and they're really, really quite common. So this is just starting to bubble up now. I'm going to add more to this. Okay. So you want to try and like spread it out a little bit because it does tend to stick, right? Don't agitate it too much because you don't want it to kind of like start, like, you don't want the batter to start disintegrating in the oil. Okay, you know it's ready when it starts bubbling like this quite vigorously. Now, I had to forewarn you about the whole thing about me standing here and cooking because, like I said, when you're doing a live broadcast, there's no way you can actually shortcut anything, right? That's going to take time. And this is where most people go wrong with this particular dish. When you're deep frying it, you need to deep fry this for quite a while because you want it to be so extremely crispy when you're doing this dish. It's not, like I say, most of the recipes I see online suggest using like basically sauteing this. If you're going to saute this, you're going to mess up the flour and all that mixed in here, right? Because there's not going to be enough oil to be able to cook this properly. No, wait, hush, please. Shush, shush. Okay. So you want to deep fry this, and guess what, guys? You have to deep fry this till, the way you tell it's ready is when you see it's bubbling quite vigorously now. You know it's ready when the bubbling starts to dissipate. And we are talking about 10, maybe 15 minutes, okay? It may take less time with chicken, but that's the kind of time you're talking about. You're not just stir frying it in a pan and then adding the ingredients. You don't do that. Another mistake I find people do is that they crack the eggs. They basically combine the eggs with the flour and then they toss the meat in that, and you don't want to do that because there's there's going to be too much liquid that's going to basically wash away any of the flour that helps it to stick together. Okay, you want to actually, in any Asian deep frying, right? Well, I don't want to say any, right? But this is how we generally do our deep frying, right? You would have the eggs separate. You crack the eggs in one. You dip whatever it is you're deep frying with a seafood or whatever. You dip it in the egg wash, and then you take it out, and then you dip it in the flour, take it out, and then you throw it in the oil. Okay, you don't mix the egg with the flour. So, like I said, this is going to take a little while to cook. And as for the sauce, I'm really, really impatient because this, I'm throwing this in big chunks, but you really should try and separate it a little bit, right? Like I said, try and cut it into as thin strips as you can because you want this to be really thin and crispy. If you had it at your Asian restaurant, you know that, it's so thin and crispy, you wonder where the meat is in this dish because really, it's almost like a guilty pleasure with this particular dish because it's nice and sweet and a little bit spicy and a little bit sour sort of thing. It's almost like eating crispy, like candied beef sort of thing, if you like, There's probably very, very little protein in it. Okay, I'm going to leave the rest out because I'm just overfilling my my wok here. Okay, so that's that. As for the sauce, usually, traditionally, and I hate to generalize, but usually you would have shredded carrots in this. I don't actually eat that much carrot the rest of the week, so I didn't really want to buy a bag of carrots for this, so no carrots in mine. But usually, if you've got carrots, best way to prepare is just use a shredder. You know, you don't want much, right, in this. And then I'm just going to throw in some green onions, or what we sometimes call shallots, depending on which part of the world you come from, right? And then I'm going to throw in some slices of chili. Okay, if you don't have chili, you can leave it out. You can use chili sauce if you want. A lot of people with this particular recipe, even at restaurants, they use sweet chili sauce. I'm not a big fan of sweet chili sauce myself because I generally find it to be a bit too sweet. And, you know, I generally find sweet chili sauce to lack nuance, right? So we're going to leave out the sweet chili sauce, and instead, what my sauce is going to consist of, okay, that's probably way more than enough. I'm going to throw in some garlic as well. I have a feeling that most restaurant recipes don't actually contain garlic with this, right? So this is still frying. Like I said, you're going to fry this for quite some time. And thanks to my impatience, a lot of them are in bigger clumps than I would have liked. But you get the idea, you know. You want to like just gently kind of like pull them apart before you put them in the oil, okay? So I'm rushing this through a little bit because yesterday's video, I had someone complain about how they were basically sick of having to sit and listen to me for 15 minutes before they got to see the final result of the dish, which if you know me, some of you have known me for years and years, you know I don't usually take these kind of things lying down. But I was very gracious to her and just said, thanks for watching, blah, 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 and God bless you, and sort of thing, you know. But it does affect me to some extent when I do these kind of stuff that people expect quick results, right? And that's not the real world. When you're cooking and you're doing it live, I don't have a video editor to edit this live, right, while I'm cooking. So just bear with me while I cook this. Like I said, you know, we're talking, usually you will have to fry this for a good, like 10-15 minutes, right? So you can see this is something that will take a little bit of patience, but if you want to do it right, you don't just, like I say, saute it in a bit of oil and then tip out the oil and then add the sauce, because you will never achieve restaurant quality Peking shredded crispy beef using that technique, right? So with beef, like I said, usually if you buy beef at your local supermarket, you get a piece of steak, and the steak's basically cut against the grain. What you want is to be able to buy a piece of beef on the grain, right, like a big slab sort of thing, and then you slice it on the grain. Just imagine the chicken breast that I had. Imagine a beef, like, you know, on the grain like that. So you want to slice it and then slice it further into very, very thin strips. Noah, what do you want? What's the matter? You want to come over? I didn't put those chairs there to block him out. He did it himself, by the way. Noah, come. You want to come over here? Come. Can you come over here? No? Okay, so you want to fry this, and it may change color, it may actually brown, and that's totally fine because the sauce is going to hide the imperfections with this, right? So I'm going to throw in some garlic with this. So I'm going to just actually mince these. Usually I just throw it in one of these, but I've got time to kill, so I'm just going to actually slice and mince it. I don't have the right knife for this. No, and you sit over here. Good boy. Over here. Good boy. Yeah, that's his sign that he's hungry, so I'm trying to rush this through a little bit. If you've got any questions at all about this or any of my recipes, just post them in the comments. If I don't get to them here, I will try and... Thank you, Christy. Kirsty. I keep calling you Christy. Oh, that is terrible. Kirsty, thank you. I don't know if Kirsty's ever done one of my cooking classes, but if ever you're in Sydney and you do a cooking class with me, you know I charge an arm and a leg for that, you know. So you're actually lucky to get to watch me cook live here for free. Okay, so I'm just gonna try and chop this up roughly because I don't have the greatest knife. If you're a knife distributor, come and talk to me. We can work together, right? But right now I've got my arsenal is sorely lacking in the knife and in a few other departments as well. Okay. So this is actually browning up, which is good. You see the oil is starting to settle a bit, so it's pretty much ready. But I'm just going to let it fry a little bit more because I want it to get even more crispy, right? And of course, like had I actually put this in smaller, you know, in looser bits, it would have actually crisped up a little bit faster. So in my haste, I've actually kind of like been my own worst enemy. Now, what sauce in the LenovoIN jar? Okay. Christine, LenovoIN jar here is actually hoisin sauce, and that's what I'm going to use. Now, this particular dish is really, like I said, it's almost like eating candied, like crispy beef, right? So there's a lot of sweetness in this. And what I do, I don't measure anything, but I will try and, you know, work out a recipe for you in my blog, which should show up by Monday, okay? So this is browning up and this is pretty much crisp, okay? So I can actually take this out now. What I'm going to use in my sauce is a combination of hoisin sauce, which literally in Chinese means seafood sauce. And I'm going to combine it with some tomato ketchup, okay? Now we shush. And other recipes, I've actually got some that I did earlier. Other recipes will have a, like I said, some people just use sweet chili sauce. I just prefer hoisin sauce. If you can't find hoisin sauce, don't stress out too much. You can really, in fact, just get away with using ketchup for this recipe, in all honesty, right? So let me get this. And you know what? I was going to use my Sunbeam pan fryer, but I think I might actually just quickly take this. Yes, it is Noah's lunch. I'm just going to quickly transfer the oil out. So there you go, I've transferred the oil out. I've just left about a tablespoon's worth of oil in here. Just turning it back up, tossing in the garlic, the minced garlic, right? And we're making the sauce now, and this should be very, very quick. I'm tossing in the spring onion. You can toss it, if you were actually using carrots, shredded carrot, throw the carrots in the oil as well and deep fry it till it's crispy as well, okay? So that'll give it a nice texture. I'm gonna just slice up some chili and toss it in. And of course, instead of this, you can just use chili sauce if you want. I just wanna actually give a little bit of color to this dish here. Okay, I need a stirrer. Hoisin sauce, like I said, we Chinese, hoisin sauce literally means seafood sauce, but there's actually no seafood in it. All of this is essentially ground bean paste that's been, mixed with a number of other ingredients, sugar, garlic, and all that sort of stuff, right? So hoisin sauce usually you would find used in Peking duck. Peking duck, which is it's usually you usually use it as a spread. You don't usually use it as a stir fry. But the flavor is quite intense and quite sweet. I'm going to throw in some tomato ketchup in here. So this is just your regular Australian ketchup. And I'm going to add sugar to this, right? And you actually would use a fair bit of sugar. You want probably about 4 or 5 tablespoons of sugar in here. Just give me a second. I'll just run out. Well, you know I'm out of sugar. Hang on. That can't be right. Okay, so I've got a couple of tablespoons of sugar in here. Stir it in. And I'm going to add probably maybe honey. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna top it up with a bit of honey. Usually you just use sugar. Maybe a little bit more. And look, if you want a little bit more, I mean the tomato sauce I'm using is a little bit piquant, right? If you want more of a piquant taste to your dish, let me taste this. It's quite spicy because I'm surprised at how spicy the chili is. So this is quite sweet, right? And it's not piquant enough for me. You can actually squirt in a little bit of lemon juice, but I'm going to add a bit of Chinese vinegar. Just hang on a sec. Okay, so this is called vinegar for dumplings, okay? It's black vinegar. You can use white vinegar as well if you want. I just want to taste test this. Okay, this is totally optional. Okay, so this is very, very well balanced. I'm going to toss this back in there, okay? And coat it. And I like sesame seeds, right? So I've got some toasted sesame seeds on standby that I'm going to sprinkle over the top of this as well. Okay, so just a matter of tossing this, making sure it's well mixed in, right? You want the sauce to be quite thick before you actually throw in the crispy beef or chicken in this case. Now, like I said, a lot of people get stressed out about, they see this being made in a Chinese restaurant. They try making it at home using a bogus recipe, and they think they can't replicate it because they don't have Chinese restaurant equipment, but that's not usually the case, right? As far as Chinese restaurant woks and all that, they generate very high pressure heat for you, but that is only relevant if you're trying to achieve what we call wok hei, or the breadth of the wok, right? In this dish, there's no such thing as wok hei. Not every Chinese dish requires the breadth of the wok. Okay, it's redundant, except in a number of a handful of stir-fried dishes that I can personally think of. Right, so don't let that be a deterrent for you. Okay, so question from Kirsty. I should probably have actually dried it up a little bit more before I tossed in the crispy beef. Okay, I'm just trying to see what is in this second. Sorry. I'm told I've got a question from Kirsty, but I can't see it. Okay, so this is it. This is done, right? And we're going to sprinkle some pre-toasted sesame seeds over here. Okay, and I'll dish it up so you can see it. Yeah, I'm sure you can. The black vinegar actually just gives it a nice piquant taste, kind of like make it a little bit sour. So it tastes almost more sweet and sour as opposed to just outright sweet, okay? I did put a bit more honey in it than I would have liked, so it actually tastes a little bit sweeter than what you would get in the restaurant. The saltiness is generated from the hoisin sauce, so you shouldn't, in theory, need any soy sauce. But if you think you do, just add a dash of soy sauce in the mixture. So it's a little bit of a playing around with the flavors. This is predominantly a sweet dish with a little bit of maybe a sour undertone to it. And that's why I added the black vinegar. But that's a little bit unconventional, okay? The black vinegar is just because I didn't have any lemon juice. If I wanted the sourness, I could have actually put more ketchup in it, assuming the brand of ketchup you're using is quite, is quite piquant. Or you can just add a dash of lemon juice or something like that, okay? So there you go. I'll just dish it up so you can have a look, and I will take a photo for you. Plates, yeah, any plate suppliers, would be perfect as well. Okay, cool. No, here you go. You're gonna eat. You're gonna eat. Okay. Let's dish this up. Let's sprinkle a little bit more of this on. Okay. This is the camera. Okay. So the chunks are a little bit bigger, but the chunks are big because I threw them in big clumps. Okay. So next time you do this, just separate them before you throw it in. Don't be impatient with me. There you go, guys. Sorry about Noah. And I will see you Monday. Actually, crunchy candy, right? Yeah, it is exactly like crunchy candy. We all know, like, it's just, you know, it's not probably the healthiest Chinese recipe out there, but that's all it is. It's just kind of like, you know, something you can eat all day because it's just so sweet and so moreish. Anyway, thank you guys. I will see you on Monday and have a great weekend. Ciao. What kind of beef would you use? That's a good question. I'm not very sophisticated with beef cuts. Go to your Chinese butcher and see. Look for anything that's you know, cut off the grain and just grab that. Because it's cut, you don't want, for this particular dish, I usually talk about how you want to use something you know, that has a lot of what do you say? We use gravy beef and that sort of stuff for curries, but for stir fries, you want something fairly lean. Okay, so something that's that will work for stir fries, you know, chuck steak or whatever. But like I said, unfortunately, in a lot of Australian butchers, all these are pre-diced or cut into steak pieces for you, so they're a little bit hard for you to be able to replicate. So there you go. Thank you guys. I will see you on Monday. Keep an eye out for the recipe at jackiem.com.au. It should be up by Monday. Ciao. This one. Here you go.